Hello, Ambius colleagues. Happy New Year and welcome to 2024 and the January Connection meeting. This month, for our technical topic, we're going to talk about soil probes, and a really important topic to us because the thing that we have the most control over of interior plants is the soil moisture. And to know what's going on down there where those roots are, we need a way to find that out using a soil probe. If you look at the root system on just about any plant that we have, you're going to have roots throughout the soil, but you're almost always going to have roots down at the bottom of that grow pot. And that's where a lot of the feeding of the water and nutrients is going on. So we got to be able to get water down there. We all know that if we don't provide adequate water and nutrients, the plants are quick to respond. They're not particularly shy about telling us that it's either too wet or too dry down there. So to do that, we're going to have a probe that's deep enough. And that's going to depend on the size of your plant and how deep the soil is. So if you have deep soil, you need a deep soil probe. Shallow, you can use a smaller probe. So we got different options of different types of probes we can use based upon how deep we need to go. And if you're wondering how deep do I need to check, if you're sticking your probe down in there and it's not getting down to the bottom, then that means you need a deeper probe that's going to get down deeper down. So I'm going to go over now some different options, some different lengths of probes that you can use for different situations.
This really long one right here is a 30-inch soil probe. If you have trees in the ground or in planters, this is the type of soil probe you absolutely have to have and use if you're taking care of large plants. If you're taking care of plants that are 17-inch, 14-inch, maybe even down to 10-inch, this 18.5-inch soil probe right here is really good for those purposes. These two soil probes are made out of aluminum. And the next soil probe we have here is called the Soil Sleuth. This is a 12.5-inch soil probe. Really good to use on smaller plants like 6-inch, 8-inch, and even 10-inch plants. These are made out of plastic, so they're very lightweight. They also have really good notches that are really great at picking up and collecting soil samples. The final one we have is one that's made out of steel, and this is a 12-inch Terra probe right here, and it can be used on the same type of plants as the Soil Sleuth, so this would be used on 6-inch, 8-inch, and up to 10-inch size plants.
So here's a real life situation that we have. This is from our Boston branch. Nicole is the specialist caring for these large ficus trees. They've been in this account for many years. You can see that much of the light that they're getting is natural light coming from above. And so that means that in the winter months, they're not going to be getting nearly as much light as they would be in late spring and summer. So that means that the amount of water these trees are going to use is going to change throughout the season. So the soil probe is really helpful here. And before using a probe, she had been watering the trees a certain amount. So she had given them, 1 or 2 gallons per watering, and later finding out that that wasn't enough water. It wasn't getting all the way down to the bottom, and that would cause leaf loss. So now by using a 30-inch soil probe, it not only tells her 2 things. It first says, do the trees need to be watered or not? Some visits, they may not actually need to be watered, or some trees may not need to be watered. And the second thing it's telling is, has she added enough water? So has the water gotten down to the bottom? And before, the water wasn't getting all the way down to the bottom. Now it is, because as she's watering, she can then probe when she's done and check to see did water get down there or not. If it's still dry, she can add more water to get water down to the bottom where those roots are. So in summary, it's only that deep probe that's going to tell us, are we getting enough water on that soil or not? If I'm watering plants, especially larger plants, and I don't have that deep soil probe, then I'm simply guessing. I don't know if I'm adding enough water or too much water. And the only way for me to know is by having the soil probe. So remember, it serves a couple really important purposes. It lets us know, do we need to water this plant or not? And then secondly, are we getting the water deep enough or not? Really helpful in interior scapes, because remember, the thing we have the most control over is the soil moisture of those plants.